Hey, yo, what's going on, you guys? We got episode number 26. We're at half a year of yapping together with me and Dance. We got a very awesome episode for you guys today. We're going to be going over the brand new season that is launching today. We're also going to be talking about were we right or were we wrong about last season, as well as talking about this OTA that we had this past Thursday. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, we're joined with the hostest with the mostest, notmydance. How are we doing today, Dance?
Doing good. For some reason, I thought you said hostess, and I was thinking about cupcakes. But I'm doing really well.
What? Cupcakes? Why
I don't know.
About?
Because like the hostess cupcakes, you know, like the snowballs, the ding dongs, the ho hos.
No, I don't
sorry.
know. I don't know them by that name. I know like Little Debbie's, but I don't know about. Well, no, actually,
you don't know about.
Hostess is like the white and blue box.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Never mind. Slip my brain.
Have you had a ho ho before?
Maybe. I don't know for
Tucker,
sure.
you ever had a ding dong?
I don't think I've had a ding dong before.
How many snowballs have you had in your life? I know you just got snow down there, but it's an important question.
I don't think I've actually like that type of snowball. I really don't know what I have had from that brand. I'm telling you, Little Debbie's I've had more of than Hostess branded kind of like, you know, sugar snacks.
I'm so upset about this. Sorry, this isn't where I didn't know this is how we were starting. I didn't expect that this is what I'd find out about this today. Didn't they have the little donuts, right? They've got the donuts there.
I've had the donuts. I've had a lot of those.
Those are the little mini donuts, right? They're the powdered sugar ones, right?
Powdered sugar donuts. I love the cinnamon.
Oh wait, they make Twinkies.
I've had a couple Twinkies. I haven't had like a lot of Twinkies.
Twinkies aren't really great.
No, they're
biggest. Yeah, they're more there. But sorry, now I really want a lot of these. My wife made some banana honey muffins yesterday.
Ooh,
they're so good. She's went to the Great British Bake Off and's just been on like a massive baking. She made homemade ice cream. That was so good. I've never had it. That was so good. Delicious.
Did you just shaking it yourself with the salt and everything, or?
Honestly, I have no idea what she did exactly with it. I'm not gonna lie to you, I was streaming, and then she texted me and she's like, I want ice cream. I'm gonna make some homemade ice cream. And I said, do we have the stuff for that? She's like, yeah, I got this. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I love it.
It's so cool. It's sick. Not as sick as this new season that's coming out, which not only has the 5 data mine cards that we've already knew about, it's got 3 more as well.
Yeah. Our topics for the day, by the way, are the new season, right or wrong, and then we also have the OTA reaction to the OTA we did have on Thursday, because we did have an OTA on Thursday this past week. But this new season, we got a lot of stuff going on. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into that, which, by the way, it is going to be probably one of our longer segments for the day. So do we want to do a brief little rundown real quick of the new season and then go card by card?
Yeah, I'm down. So the new season, right? It's Brave New World. It's meant to be based off of. Isn't that actually what the new Captain America is called? Brave New World?
Yes, the new Captain America is Brave New World. Sorry, my mouse is being crazy.
No, you're good. So new movie is Captain America: Brave New World, which obviously is going to be starring Sam Wilson and Anthony Mackie, being Sam Wilson as Captain America. Thusly, that is the season pass card, which also has Captain America's shield, which is going to be a really cool bit. I'm excited about just this card in general. We'll break down all these cards here. We've got also 4 new cards coming out in Spotlight Caches this week or this month. But I think the stuff I think the biggest stuff that I really want to yap about, Tuck, is the new game mode.
Yes, we do have a brand new game mode. At the time of us here on the app, they don't have it on this main schedule for the new season, but we have a general idea of what it does. I believe it's Sanctum Showdown.
Sanctum Showdown, and it's going to be launching on the 18th. Yep. So 2 weeks after the season starts.
And it lasts for 2 weeks as well.
Yeah. And It's really sick. I'm excited about this. Not just honestly, I don't know how excited I am for the specific new game mode. More along with everything it's bringing.
Yes.
It's bringing 3 new cards we didn't expect, because we've talked. Remember when all these season cards were data mined?
Mm-hmm.
We broke them all down. Then before like stats and all that stuff, we talked about all those. But it has 3 different cards that we didn't know were going to be coming out this month, and not to mention obviously the exclusive game mode's got a bunch of different rewards, which are really cool. What do you want to hit first, Tuck?
Well, if we're talking about the new game mode and with the 3 new cards, the 3 new cards that we do have coming out in this new game mode, starting with Uncle Ben, is one of the brand new cards coming out this next season, which is a 1-cost, 2-powered card. When this card is destroyed, replace it with Spider-Man.
Now, it doesn't say wherever this is, so it doesn't work with like a Yondu or something, I would have to imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be on the board to be destroyed, is what I'm guessing. And then Spider-Man comes out of the same spot, I'm guessing. Still does the on reveal. I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't. I'm gonna be honest, Tuck, I don't know how excited I think we're going to do our rankings of all the cards here in a bit. This is probably the lowest ranked card for me.
Yeah, this card is very meh. I mean, I guess you could get the disrupt factor of like getting Spider-Man and being able to pull a card potentially if that unreveal does happen. But like other than that, it's kind of just a meme card, maybe.
Even with that disrupt, like, but you have to do you have to put this card down, then you have to destroy this card.
Yep.
Then you have to have it go I don't know, like, maybe it's fine. It's similar to Bucky, but cheaper. I don't know if it's good. One of the things they also didn't mention about these is I don't think they mentioned what series these cards are going to be.
They did not.
I'm guessing based off of previous stuff, these are probably all going to be exclusive to the event for the 2 weeks that the event goes on, and then whenever the event ends, maybe a week after, depending on. Remember, there were bugs I think last time with Lasher. These will probably get released to Series 4, going off their previous cadence. We could see them go to Series 5. We don't know, but they are also. You play the game mode, and as far as we know, I think you can get them for free, which is sick. So even if it's not the most interesting card, it's cool. I'm excited to see people do some deck building with this, but I think this is my least excited card.
Yeah, this card, if you look at not maybe the entire slate of this new season, but like if you look at the other 2 cards that are in this game mode compared to Uncle Ben, it's literally like, why is this card actually in this, this game mode right now? And like with that in mind, moving over to the next card, we do have LaFay, which is It's a 4/5. I believe it's still 4/5. I don't know if it will change to 4/6 in the video.
I think it's still 4/5.
Okay.
It's still 4/5 in the video. So
4/5, steal 1 power from each other card here. With that text, that makes me think of your side of the board and your opponent's side of the board.
I have a rant, and it's because of this card. And I'm not gonna do the rant today. But this card being a max of a 4/12 and existing in the same world where Spider-Woman exists. I don't think it's always best to compare one card to another. But I think this is proof that the 5 and 4 cost area of Marvel Snap is messed up.
Skewed.
I don't want to go into more details because we have a lot of other stuff we're talking about today. But this card spawned a lot. It spawns a lot of annoyance from me because of
foreshadowing for next week when we're actually going to talk about this topic.
Yeah, this is gonna be a good card.
Yes.
I don't know how excited I am for it because I'm just annoyed of how good it's going to be. However, Luke Cage still exists. So it technically, if you have Luke Cage and your opponent has Luke Cage, it is just a 4/5. But are you and your opponent really going to have both Luke Cage? That's a different story entirely.
Yeah, with the steel text is interesting. Immediately, my mind goes to Clog here. Like, this makes me think of, like, old Typhoid Mary debris shenanigans, where you're using this after a debris to be able to make sure you can annihilate their rock to the other side of the board, too. Like, I think this is going to be a good tech for that. And like you were saying too, like this card can get pretty big. I think like consistently wise, you don't maybe have to deck build as much as you would for Ares to get this closer to like a higher power angle. Of course, Ares, you deck build so you can get that 412. But here, like, even if you're stealing only a couple points of power, maybe it goes to a 4-8. That's still really solid because, like, transactionally, that's still a 4-11 if they don't have Luke Cage because you're stealing 3 power from their side of the board. But it is cool to see more of this steal text in the game. And, of course, that's why they buff Luke Cage, you know, every single time they can because of this.
Every single card that steals and afflicts power and sets power is a buff to Luke Cage.
Yep. Simple as
that.
I
mean, that's all I'm saying on this. I have so much more, but I'm holding myself back. I think this is the one time on the Marvel Yap I am holding myself back.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact we have too much stuff to talk about today.
But I'm glad we're getting like good cards actually from these new game modes. Opposed, I mean, if it was only Uncle Ben, it'd be like a major feels bad.
Yeah, I was about to say we just have Uncle Ben. You just said that about.
Yeah. But like we had Lasher, which was okay. King Eitri is okay. But like since like Cassandra Nova, it's really been like just meh cards from the event. But now we're getting LaFay, which seems like a good card on paper. And then we also have Gorgon.
This card would have been really cool a month ago. Gorgon is a 2/3 with the ongoing ability that your opponent's cards that didn't start in their deck cost 1 more to a maximum of 6 power. This card, Tucker, everyone was talking about this. They wanted this card when Arishem was everywhere. Arishem's no longer everywhere. This is probably going to be one of the, not the nails in the coffin, but this is probably going to bring him down a good chunk more. And I also think that this card is probably not going to be amazing in a lot of shells. However, I know where I want to put this card. When you see this card, where do you want to go?
I think there's so many card generating decks right now at the moment, whether it's with Kate Bishop, Iron Patriot, Valentina, Swarms. I think this is a card that is kind of necessary in a sense for the meta to kind of help with some of these situations. It's going to make Mobius more relevant in a lot of these decks too. I think this actually could have come out this month potentially as a counter card for what's going on, but I understand they didn't want the Fun Police until this next month.
Yeah, this card could be I think Iron Patriot's broken. And I think that this could have been an answer to Iron Patriot. So maybe they did want to wait a month for it. And that was the reason why they were okay to let Iron Patriot run around, because they knew an answer was coming out.
Yeah.
But Darkhawk
will be great.
With Black Widow.
This also works with Moonstone.
True, yeah, with Moonstone. But like but Black Widow now, you have to pay power to get rid of the Widow's Bite.
Yep.
So we're gonna see Black Widow get nerfed in March.
Black Widow gets nerfed in March. Spider-Ham value here too.
Spider-Ham's actually a really good shout too. Yeah, fun. And actually, that means Spider-Ham with Joaquin, if you have Gorgon, actually increases the cost of their leftmost card repeatedly. Because if you have Elysium on the board and your cards are getting reduced in cost, then it'll Spider-Ham that reduced cost down, and then it will go down even more. And if you do it again, it'll go down even more. So you actually, that's a fun thing. I didn't think about that one. That's going to be a cool one.
Yeah, even though like more often than not, you're not going to be wanting to play Spider-Ham with Joaquin.
No, you're not. But like, we'll talk about Joaquin.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting, but these are cool new cards for the brand new game mode. And you can get apparently all of them for free. I think they cost 1,200 of the points that you get in the game mode.
I think that's all, yeah.
Tucker, do you want to tell everyone why the game mode is actually different from normal ladder games for a second here?
So what's really interesting about these games, they are going to be longer games from the way it looks. And it's also going to be kind of a priority-driven game mode in a sense. If you look at the way the locations work on the board, there are 3 locations like normal, but each turn, one location is the Sanctum location, which will give you more points if you win that location at the end of turn. You get points based on winning locations. You'll have the average of about 1 point on 2 of the locations, 4 points on the major location, wherever that is left, middle, right, kind of varies per turn. If you snap into your turn as well, that location goes up 1 extra point from 4 to 5. The winner is determined at the end, whoever has 16 points. So it's a race to 16. So it's really going to be interesting about like priority, the ideas there on how you want to win turns opposed to necessarily winning the entire game. And I don't know necessarily the way like card draws and everything are going to work. I wonder if like you're going to want to bounce cards back after winning locations, or if it's your cards are just going to be sitting there for like an entire game. It's going to be very interesting, I feel, there.
So what it looks like from the dev video, which I kid you not, I actually watched at 0.25 speed to try to get as much information about this game as I could. For what it's worth, one of the best cards is again the card that's coming out today, the season pass card. Sam Wilson, because of the game start ability where he puts the shield on the board immediately, gives you a location. Well, again, we'll talk about that more later, but it really feels like that you're going to be doing a lot of big stuff here, trying to win as much support as possible. And I think the board stays throughout the turns, and from what it looks as well, I think you just gain energy per turn. I don't know how many turns, and it could just be capped at 6. We only see it go to turn 6 in the dev video, but each location you want to be winning the majority of locations. But there's also every single time there is one special location, the Sanctum location, whatever they call it, and that location is worth 4 points. And that location changes up in where it is. Which location is going to be the Sanctum location changes up each time. I don't know, like if you Quake stuff, if that changes it. I would have to imagine if you Quake to Sanctum location, I think it still does it. There's also like cards that are restricted and you're not allowed. I think they talked about Juggernaut and Debris. I think they mentioned in the Team Answers area. So I have to imagine other locations that you can't play to. Probably, honestly, Sanctum Sanctorum is probably banned in Sanctum Showdown, is what I'd personally guess. So I don't know what else is actually banned or not allowed or what have you, but that is what we're going to be seeing here as far as I can tell. And then what I'm also guessing is because once you win a game, the winner, I believe, gets points. And this is speculation. I don't think this is confirmed. I don't know. But I think the winner of the game gets, because it's first 16, they get the 16 points. And then the loser, I have to imagine, still probably gets the points that they got. Because otherwise, I feel like you really hate losing then. And we know that wasn't fun in Deadpool's Diner. So I can't imagine they're really doing that. So probably if you win, you get an extra bonus of maybe points too. I don't know. It makes it, if I'm logicking that, it makes sense to me, but I have no proof on this one way or another. And then in regards to everything else, we also have, this shop, which is where you can get these 3 new cards. And you can get a bunch of other stuff there as well, which is really sick. But with these 3 cards at least, this works specifically where it's like a 1 in 3 chance. You spend 1,200 of these points, whatever it is, and however many of those you have, once you spend 1,200 points, you get a chance to get one of these 3. You get one of these 3 new cards, and you have to spend 3,600 of these whatever points to get all of them.
Okay. That's
just based off of this video that I may or may not still have on 0.25 speed in front of me.
Which, like, what I'm really hoping with this game mode too is they pay like more, or they lean more into the high voltage aspect, which I bet like they have missions to help you get more of these scrolls. I believe that's the currency, instead of you having to just grind. And what I really, really enjoy as well is that there are cards that are banned, which is what made high voltage better than Deadpool's Diner too, because Deadpool's Diner, everything I believe was possible, and like there's a lot of like feels bad there, whereas I feel like the banned card system really allows you to either differentiate what you're playing and kind of like face a bunch of new kind of stuff, whatever people build, opposed to like Deadpool's Diner literally was just Arisham's Diner both times.
Well, second time it wasn't good to be Arisham's Diner because it had the different generic, but yeah. So, but you have these 3 cards. Also, Tucker, there are 4 different, some of these things in the shop you can buy multiple times, you can buy only once, something you can buy infinite times. One of these, which I think is the most interesting thing here, and it costs more than the new card, for 2,250 of these points, I'm just calling them points because I don't know what they are, whatever this currency is, you can just get a straight up unowned Series 4 or 5 card.
That's really good.
We talked about this a little bit before.
Mhm.
If this is what they're doing for card acquisition, that sucks.
Yes.
But if this is just part of making card acquisition more open, that's awesome. And I love that.
Yes. As a whole, I hope it's just a bonus step and not the overarching big feature to improve card acquisition.
The big feature is, hey, this limited time game mode's available for 2 weeks. If you play more of it, you get a card. You get more cards. It's great. That sucks. That would actually suck. It'd be atrocious.
Yeah, no thank you there.
They also have scrolls in the shop, which we don't know what they do. Scrolls have the same logo, or like they kind of look like the same icon that you have when you're in the game. So it's obviously something related to the Sanctum Showdown. I just don't know what it is. I don't know. We haven't had confirmation. They've got variants. They've got a bunch of borders. They've got avatars. They've got new emotes, which I'm down for. They've got the Jeff drinking the stuff as the emote, which I love. And honestly, one of the best titles I've seen for a while. They just have "I've Come to Bargain" as a title available for purchase. That's like in a world where we have some titles that are just crap.
Yep.
"I've Come to Bargain" is actually a pretty solid one, honestly. So you can get credits, I think, as well. There's a lot of stuff in this, so I'm excited. Really excited for the opportunities in this game mode. I hope it goes well, but we don't know for certain. I'm honestly stoked about all the different stuff we're seeing here in this.
For one of the shortest months of the year, too, we're getting a lot of content for February.
Yeah. No, that's actually a really good point. I forgot that this is like the shortest year. And I think, remember, we talked about this in our review of Snap over 2024. They started the year swinging, coming within that great stuff.
Yep.
And I'm excited about that, and I'm really hoping we're going to be seeing that here. That this is going to be a really sick month for stuff. Really sick month for all of these features, these new cards, and just the whole thing. Which, speaking of the new cards, even with these cards, I don't think any of them are busted. And I don't think the only card I think might be really good is the new season pass card. But all the rest of them, I think, are actually probably either just okay or mid. And that's in a world where we had the Victoria Hand Moonstone.
Yeah, no, this entire season's kind of cards, like from last season, we're like, oh, last season's cards are going to be okay. And then you're like, this season, you're like, oh, if you look at last season's cards, some of them are actually great. These seasons are amped.
Yeah.
And then like March is when it's like, oh, this is about to be crazy.
Which,
yeah,
there was supposed to be a patch today when this is going live, Ben, and that was delayed due to, fun fact, I didn't know if you knew about this, Tucker. Marvel Snap died for a bit. They had to Phoenix Force it back up.
Only in the US. Only in the US.
Only in the US, true. So everyone got that +5 of Phoenix Force. Actually, some people got the +3 from Fenris Wolf instead, if they weren't here in the US. But because of that, they had to delay the patch a little bit. It looks like everything else hasn't been delayed. The only thing that we've really seen in terms of a delay was the patch. And that's kind of it, which is, if Second Dinner's pulling this together that quickly, I'm honestly going to give them props. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely got to give credit where credit's due there. From what happened in the U.S. and having to, roll as quick as they did, they've done, honestly, a pretty good job. But yeah, those are all the cards we have for the new game mode. But let's go ahead and jump back into all the new cards we have coming out this season. We started talking about Sam Wilson, but we didn't go into details about like what Sam Wilson does as the season pass card, which is a 2-cost, 3-powered card that has game start, add Cap's shield to a random location, ongoing, you can move Cap's shield. And Cap's shield, by the way, is ongoing, 1/1. This can't be destroyed. Give your Cap +2 power when this moves to Cap's location.
It's weird that's like the way they're calling it. They're just doing, and Glenn actually already responded to someone asking about this because someone said, does it work for all Caps? So Captain Marvel?
Yeah.
Which he confirmed. It's like, no, it works for the Cap. He said it's a weird sentence, but it's technically correct. It only works for the Captain's America, because technically that. So because it's Captain America's shield, the actual, if you look at the card here, as a 1/1, it says Captain America's shield. the shorthand for Cap is just for that bit, so they don't have to do a big sentence here for that. Here's a question, Tucker, with Captain America's shield. I want to ask you that give your Cap +2 power when this moves to Cap's location. Do you believe that in particular is an ongoing ability?
I believe with the period, it ends the first command to make it so you can get +2 repeatedly. But
that makes sense to me as well.
Until we have the testing, I don't know. I didn't do this in my deck for today. I don't know if you did, but someone brought up the idea of Hercules.
Oh, that's fun. I was thinking Moonstone at one point, trying to use, because if you move Moonstone to Captain America's shield location, would it work? But I don't believe it would, because she said she copies not your 1, 2, and 3 cost cards with ongoing abilities. She says it copies the ongoing abilities of your 1, 2, and 3 cost cards. So I can't imagine that moving the shield to, or like moving her to location with the shield would work. By the way, there is an avatar data mine for this shield. I really hope that they give us a shield, a Captain America's shield avatar.
That'd be really cool.
Unrelated. Actually. I think that's a really good. That's considering we have Rock and Cole. I hope that this avatar is in the season pass. I don't know if it is. I don't think so, but I would love it if this avatar is in the season pass of just that.
No,
that's
that would
unrelated
be sick,
entirely.
Actually.
Right? It would be cool. But yeah, so I think this card's gonna be really sick. And Tucker, you put every single week, just to plug your own stuff, you put out buy or busts. You talk about the new cards that are coming out that week, which is always interesting. I like watching them. And you said, I'm gonna pull it up right here, if you don't mind. I'm gonna just quote you on your own title. When you talk about Sam Wilson, you said he is the new Zoo card. And I listened to your stuff. And I know you probably said it in there a little bit, but I'd love for you to yap for a second just about the combos you see with this in Zoo.
So it sounds weird, right? Why would you want this in Zoo? But it's like, I feel like people are thinking, put just Cap in ongoing, put it in ongoing, have a little spectrum stuff. But I think holistically speaking, a 1 cost that can't be destroyed, that can get repeatedly buffed by Marvel Boy, so that it just can have power, and then it can just free roam across the board and stuff. And then of course you have Khazar, you have Blue Marvel. Maybe those aren't just the best cards for this over here, but at the end of the day, what I think is most important about this, pertaining also with Sam Wilson, Captain America, is Sam Wilson getting the buff. I don't think you have to have all of the Captain Americas on the board to be able to get value out of this card. Already having this as a slot on the board is nice, especially if you're trying to do some Dazzler things. It's also a token card, so you're already going to have a Mockingbird discount with this on the board already too. So my head went there, of course, immediately. And then, of course, with Gilgamesh in that list too, if you've both put this onto Sam Wilson as well, you don't have to have necessarily a Blue Marvel to have buffed your Sam Wilson because you got the power from Captain America's shield. I feel like it just gives you a couple different outlets in that way, opposed to just fully leaning pure into ongoing. And I think Zoo is in a spot right now where you might actually be able to play Zoo right now, because I'm not seeing as much destroy going on. Maybe there still is Red Guardian, and Red Guardian does hit your Marvel Boy potentially, but I feel like there's so many different other ways you can play around that now that it might be time for Zoo to kind of come back. Even Thanos Zoo is something I was thinking of as well.
Fun fact, actually, I got Infinity Avatar this season, or last season, whatever, or however you want to talk about it. The January season, I got Infinity Avatar with Zoo, because I think Zoo's actually in a really solid spot that I think you can do a lot of really good stuff with it. So you talked about Zoo, as I think you uploaded a video around the time when I was actually making an Infinity push with it. And so you had me interested there, so I wanted to ask about that, because I do agree that Zoo could very easily come back. I also wonder if there's a world where we could see this interesting mesh between Zoo and that ongoing style list you're talking about, because there are good 1-drops that are ongoing. A lot of good too. And if you use those in combination with, I like the Gilgamesh out. I think there's a weird mesh there that I don't think either one of us are talking about in terms of the decks that we're bringing up for Sam and the Shield.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that there's a lot of really cool stuff there, just as a place where Snap can build new decks into.
Yes.
But I mean, speaking of building new decks, what did you think for Sam before we talk about anything else?
So this is the zoo list I was kind of pertaining to in the buy or bust as well. I do have Shanna in here. Shanna could be potentially a flex spot. Maybe you do put Ultron in here just to kind of guarantee you have one power across the board, or maybe you even like drop Shanna for something else. But like I was thinking about if there are a lot of destroy matchups, which I'm still not seeing too much destroy, but I have Kyra in here. Like that, those 2-3 cost cards, the Kyra and Shanna could be potential flex just depending on the Dazzler value you're getting. But I have Kate Bishop in here because, you know, she generates 1-cost cards, and that's, you know, what's going to help with either your Kazar, and it helps your Marvel Boy, also tokens for Mockingbird. You have Squirrel Girl for also tokens. So I was kind of looking at it that way, at different ways to enable Mockingbird and stuff. But that's the general gist. It's kind of not necessarily maybe the most optimized zoo deck at the moment. I kind of was just like messing around, seeing what we could get to work. But this is what I started with.
Yeah, no, because I think this is a very good zoo. I think you're talking about a zoo list here, and I'm going to talk about an ongoing list. And then after we talk about both of ours, I actually want to talk about like how you could potentially meld them together, because I think there's an interesting idea with some of those, and I want to poke your brain at it. But in general, I think it's a really cool place where this deck can go.
Yeah.
I am very interested with this and seeing whether or not it actually works.
Right. And
there's a specific card that I want to talk about in both of these lists that neither one of us used, but I think could be fun. But because in general, I like this combo idea, being able to do this different stuff with Sam Wilson feels really cool. And I'm excited about that. I will say the biggest thing I think that we haven't talked about with him is the fact that he gives you turn 1 prio.
Yes.
You always are starting the game unless you're playing against another Sam Wilson, which is something that you can't often have.
It's always a coin flip.
Yeah, unless you have a shield on the board.
That's something, I hadn't thought about it that way. That's really smart.
Yeah, no. So that is, I think, if we're going to talk about the best part about Sam Wilson, it might actually be the fact that you know you're going first unless you're playing against another Sam Wilson. Kind of similar to how Daredevil lets you see the opponent's cards unless there's another Daredevil.
Yeah.
So that's I think there's something interesting there. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff to break down.
Yeah, going on to your list though. Your Sam Wilson list we have over here, which you guys might see looks a little bit familiar to something from last season or a couple yaps ago.
I said when Moonstone came out that I thought one of the best decks for her would be this style of list. A list where you put Captain America in this list, both Captain Americas. And I think I stand by that. And I think this list is going to do really well. And I'm banking on a little bit of the meta here because I actually think Rogue is going to do insane. People are probably going to run Super Scroll. But if you've got Rogue is a 3-cost card, and then you could leave her on the Moonstone lane. And that's a lot of good stuff there. I think Cosmo, there's a chance you still want Luke Cage in this list. There's a chance you actually want Speed in here as well. But I like the spread that you have in what this current deck is doing, the discounts you can get, a lot of different stuff here. In general, I think this is another really solid place where you can build the cards into.
And like every card's pretty much ongoing here too, so Spectrum pretty much buffs all of them, which is nice.
Yeah, she buffs, I think, every single card here, unless Rogue and Mystique get screwed over or like a Red Guardian happens. But again, the shield is ongoing as well, which is a very important detail. So I'm also expecting other people to Rogue. I'm expecting Red Guardians, which is part of the reason why I think if you're playing with Sam Wilson, I actually want to say Cosmo is one of the best cards this season.
Yeah, to make sure
and
you
I split
don't
him
get hit
4
by it.
times in the last week, and I haven't gotten any great split. I'm really annoyed with that. It's besides the point entirely. But
oh well, we hope we get a better split next time.
I hope so. But so I know it's not even one of our decks. But if you combo, can you go back to your deck for a second?
Yeah.
Because is there a world where you can remove the Kate and probably like the Kate Shauna and I want to say like Mockingbird maybe, and you put in ongoing cards to give yourself, maybe even Blue Marvel, honestly, but you give yourself a secondary line in Zoo other than just this Gilgamesh final play. Is there a world where you can do stuff like the new like old Captain America with enough other ongoing cards? Then you also, is it? Because again, if you're generating less tokens, you can't use Mockingbird as much. A card I was thinking about, is Ebony Maw decent because of moving the shield? Is he decent?
I think he's decent. Like, I do. But I think, like, if we're doing the change you're thinking of here, right? We take out the Shanna, we take out the Mockingbird and the Gilgamesh. We put in a War Machine, Ebony Maw, maybe even a Goose kind of situation.
Actually, a Goose is a good shout. I like the Goose, yeah. I think you do Goose, Ebony Maw, War Machine. Oh, Captain, I think you still like to be able to move the shield to get both Captain America's buffed. And if you have enough other on, Mockingbird probably has to leave. I don't know. It is a different, maybe honestly, Blue Marvel doesn't exist. I don't know what, it's a weird combo, and I don't know if we're built, but it's something at least I wanted to talk about and see if that would, whether or not we do it, but it's also something that I know people listen, they like these decks.
Yeah.
Hopefully y'all do. Which, by the way, let us know what y'all think. We did a whole month of talk about decks. We'll talk about those later, but let us know what you actually thought of us giving you decks that we want to try with the new card in this as well, because that's something that we haven't really talked about before and really done. First time doing it in January. So if y'all would give your feedback on that, we'd appreciate that, just to know if that's something we should even consider doing moving forward. But I think that's just an interesting place for these cards still exist. I don't know if it's the best place, but I think it's an interesting combo that I didn't have any good answers on otherwise. I wanted to at least talk about.
Yeah, no, I like the shouts. But that is going to be the Sam Wilson Captain America, which is just one of two new cards that is coming out today. We also have Joaquin Torres Falcon II coming out today.
That's a mouthful
as well.
I thought Negasonic Teenage Warhead was a long name.
But do you want to tell everyone what
Joaquin
does?
Joaquin. Yeah, I'm just calling him Joaquin. He's a 3/4. He was data mined at a 3/3, then got buffed to a 3/4. Maybe not good. Anyway, has with another ongoing ability that the on-reveal abilities of your one-cost cards happen here twice. Which, by the way, at one point, Red Wing was data mined to have be a one-cost card with an on-reveal ability, and that was going to be the combo. That has such change. We'll talk about Red Wing later. I have Copium on this card. I've got exactly one place that I believe this would be even remotely playable. I don't think I just don't think this card is extremely useful.
This card is one of those like meh kind of feeling cards, like for sure. Like it sets up like a combo heavy situation, kind of like Wong, but like with Wong, of course, it could be any on reveal card in the game, where this is super narrow in the sense of what it does, which like I think right now we're at a state where maybe it's like, why play this card? Which hopefully I wouldn't be surprised in the future we get some better on reveal one cost cards. But until maybe something crazy happens like with the patch or like the OTA next week, I definitely think this is going to be kind of more of a narrow card. When he hits, it's going to be awesome because it's going to hit and it's going to feel really good. But overall, you probably are going to want to run different 3-cost cards in general, even though probably in some of the decks we've made, he does have value, but of course that's like very specific. Like you have to have that right situation.
It's fun. I don't know. I don't remember what your deck. I don't think I've seen your deck, but I don't know. I don't think he's the best slot in even my deck, and I think he's probably one of the best. I think it's one of the better places for him still with that one. So I think the card is just so narrow, and that's one of the things that I feel like that Second Dinner is realizing, that these the cards that are so narrow, it's difficult to give them reasonable stats, because if they're too broad, the stats are busted and the card is busted because the ability is also busted. But then if it's if it's too, what is it? If the ability's too narrow and then that's one deck is too powerful, we get a Scream thing where Scream made that entire deck actually the best performing one in a while.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, but I don't know. There's just not enough one-cost cards that I even think that are really great here.
Yeah, this right here. So like, not the deck I'm showing today, but like, there was value I was seeing in like a Darkhawk shell, which is like what they talked about in like the dev video today, because it works with Zabu, it works with Korg. Like you have those interactions which are nice, but I feel like it's just very interesting because the cards that maybe it could have worked with in the past just aren't the same anymore. Like it works well with an Iceman. Like if Spider-Ham was different and it was hitting random cards, it would be like way better. But I think like the decks we use, which like we'll show Dance's deck first, like it makes sense on why you would potentially use Joaquin in order to, you know, try to do what you're trying to do. Whereas like with my deck, it's kind of like, okay, well, I'm being patient here because I have Joaquin in order to get maximum value out of here, or I'm literally going to be incredibly greedy. But let's go ahead and go into Dance's deck first.
So if you're talking about one-cost cards, and this was something that was shout out by Shab in my chat. Appreciate you, Shab. Love you. The person who has the most one-cost cards is Thanos. So every single one of his stones that are drawing cards draw 2 cards, or 4 if you're talking about the Mind Stone. And so if you're going to look for, I think, the best quote-unquote place that you really would like to be able to use Joaquin, I think it might actually be for Thanos. You also have Nico. I think we're not doing a whole section where we talk about the top 3 cards, but in my personal opinion, because I was looking at all these cards that you could potentially do, I think the best 3 cards that you really want with Joaquin, just individually, not talking about Thanos's or whatever, like individual cards, I think it's Nico, Iceman, and Iron Fist.
I think Iron Fist is cope, but
I do agree that I will say neither one of us is talking about, neither one of us has bounce, but I know people are going to try it inside of the move bounce shell. But otherwise,
it would be different if there was another one cost that could really have a good targeted move to proc twice, because Ghost Spider isn't really going to be the same. Nico, you have to make sure it's one out of those 7, 8 spells. But like the Nico other interactions are really good. It makes your draw, like your plus go off multiple times. Potentially the draw 2, the ×2, like that's going to be solid. But like the Iron Fist I was trying to build for, I was like, I don't know about that. Even standard bounce, I was like, okay, there's a couple different cards that make sense, but also kind of cope at the same time.
I think they're cope because what are like, then the only card you can use at Joaquin's location, then you can put 2 cards there, and then all you can do is, what is it? Then you have to bring them all back with Beast. You have to get lucky with the other Falcon, which I do think it's meant to combo right between those 2 Falcons.
Yeah.
But you have to get lucky with the other Falcon then in order for that to work correctly. And I don't see that world. I just don't see that world, Tucker, where you're trying to bounce these cards continually. I'm coping probably on the Iron Fist one, but that's kind of it. Maybe Silver Sable's actually up there instead of Iron Fist. Maybe I should be saying that. But like everything else, I just don't see a good place for. So again, this Thanos where you have all of these stones are going to be either buffed or destroyed, and you're doing that stuff. Probably Okoye is a card that I was thinking about you could probably be removing here, and you might want to actually go with a, you might want to be actually using either like a Shadow King or maybe an Enchantress in this list. Fun fact, I don't think you should be using Zabu. Because if you're doing it, you are most likely playing that on turn 4. Because you have to play Joaquin on turn 3, and then you have to play Zabu on turn 4. So you get 2 turns out of getting Zabu. Imagining
Unless
Limbo doesn't exist or whatever. You get 3 turns. maybe that's enough. It just, I don't know. This is the card that I think is, and I know I was crapping on Uncle Ben earlier. This card is one of the lowest, I think, for me, though. It's just, well, what do you have? Do you have something else here, Tucker, that I'm just not seeing that is the combo, the answer I need?
I do. But I do want to mention, like, America Chavez also is a more niche kind of shout, but could work. Blade, if you want to do some potential discard shenanigans, maybe even a Hela kind of thing, could be interesting there. But what I have in mind is Mill on repeat. So it is making Yondu and the Hood go off multiple times, and then Miserying them on top of the Joaquin lane. You could also even do some Grandmaster shenanigans too, where you have Joaquin on the board, you play Yondu, and then you Grandmaster the Yondu, so that happens again that turn. Of course, like, Mill doesn't necessarily need Joaquin in here, but like getting multiple hoods is good value, and having, you know, more cards destroyed enables your death. Like, this is where like my head went like almost immediately, but like I said, you don't necessarily need Joaquin honestly in this list. Mill's already been solid the way it is without Joaquin, but if you're able to get Yondu to go off potentially 4 times with Misery, or you potentially get the Hood to go off 4 times and you have 4 demons, could be pretty good. But like I said, like, Joaquin is a combo card. Like, you think of combo cards like last season, Bullseye's a combo card, but it didn't feel as narrow in a sense because you could kind of play around it and have just a variety of different ins and outs, and what it did was different, of course. But this is just where my head went out immediately, was some Mill shenanigans.
No, I think this is... Yeah, I think this would be another place where you go. Actually, I think Hood is actually another one that we didn't talk about before. Hood is a really good shout for getting you a lot of value.
Yeah.
And generating a lot of cards. You know what I'm realizing, though, when I'm looking at all these? I think Joaquin's biggest problem isn't the 1-drops. I'm going to say Joaquin's biggest problem is location.
Yeah, having to be on his location.
Having it on his location.
Yeah.
If they made it so, I don't know, increase his cost to a 4 cost. Maybe. Make him a 4/5, 4/6. And then you make it so it just buffs all of yours. All the 1-drops that you play afterwards happen twice. Maybe it's busted, but I think that the location just showed, like, when we're talking about that, we both have Misery in our deck. Misery is going to we could play 2 1-drops onto Joaquin before we Misery, and that's it.
Yep.
And you can only put 3 1-drops you're doing there, and it's part of the reason why I don't think it's going to work in Bounce, because then you have to beast back Joaquin.
If you don't have Falcon, you have to beast him back, or like...
Or Toxin.
Or like, if you're still running the Kate Bishop, though, you could do some Grapple Arrow shenanigans, or like some Ghost Spider
or
stuff.
Iron Fist moves the card away. Like I said, Iron Fist, the best Joaquin card. Why you're not agreeing with me?
No, Iron Fist is Cobra.
Yeah, so that's what when I'm talking about. I'm realizing I just think it's location stuck. Location. Right? Isn't that from somewhere?
Location. But other than Joaquin, we do have some kind of interesting cards coming out this season. As we finish talking about Joaquin, though, if we look at his Spotlight Week, we do have Makari and we do have Nomura. Nomura hasn't been updated here on screen. She still is a 5/6 when she is actually a 5/7 now after the OTA that we had. We'll be talking about that, of course, here in a bit as well. But it's all Series 5 cards this week, but not a lot of crazy Series 5 cards.
These are Series 5 cards, and these are the Series 5 cards that people say this is why Series 5 is a problem, because they need to be. These are Series 4. They're worthy of Series 4. And if anything, it just goes into my argument that I say Second Dinner just continues to try to devalue how good Series 5 is every single time. And Joaquin Torres is obviously one of the prime examples of that. So with Makari and Nomura, actually Makari isn't it? Because this is the guy, but it was swapped to be accurate. The MCU isn't that one a Series 4? I feel like they or did that? No, it was Festus that dropped.
Festus dropped, yeah. Makari's still Series 5. Yeah.
I forgot Makari was Series. Yeah, I mean, this isn't a great Spotlight Week. I don't think there are really... We'll talk about Spotlights here through each card. I don't think there's really a good Spotlight Week coming up this month.
No, not really. I mean, like, this right here, Spotlight Week for Thaddeus Ross, is better than last week. You actually get Blink back in Spotlights for the first time since she came out, which I believe was
crazy.
June. Yeah, it was
or
almost
May.
Like,
it was
May,
one of those.
I think it was May. It was, yeah.
I really hope it wasn't May, but I think you're actually correct, because I think June was Hope Summers.
I think it was, yeah. So,
gosh.
Nebula Series 4 now. Blink still Series 5. But Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross is really interesting. I would say it's It's still kind of narrow in a sense too, but what I do really like is that this actually plays better into like Red Hulk. Like that synergy there is better than Bruce Banner to Hulk.
What do you mean? Bruce Banner is a great card.
Right.
Yeah. This card's going to be fun. I think this is going to be a good card.
Yeah.
It'll probably, again, I think it's going to be very narrow where it's going to work. And we'll probably maybe get you one draw.
Yeah.
But I think this is, it's the same reason that, who's the guy I'm thinking of? It's the same reason that Adam Warlock is not crazy. Same reason that that Black Widow is going to get, calling it still, nerfed in March because of what's the guy? Gorgon. I think these cards are just going to be getting nerfed because card draw is so important. It's so difficult to do. And we'll have to see whether or not Thaddeus is going to be okay with that because it's very specific, very narrow in that card draw himself. But I'm excited for the card, though. I want to say that.
And what Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross does, by the way, you guys, he is a 2/2. When your opponent ends a turn with unspent energy, draw a card with 10 or more power. So, like, this is just another great card for, you know, big dumb idiots and Scar stuff, which also will be getting another card that is really good for the deck in March as well. So, like, that deck is just, they love Power Slam in this game, and it's just going to keep getting better and better. Could be also this card here could be a fun Sauron card as well to get either Typhoid Mary or
I like that.
Red
it's only
out.
2 real cards though, isn't it? It's just Typhoid Mary and Red Skull. Maybe She-Hulk.
Yeah, maybe She-Hulk if you're doing that.
But also, I'm just gonna say this card is gonna annoy me because I'm gonna. Tucker, do you know how many? God, I'm holding myself back so hard, but I can't do it. Tucker, do you know how many cards there are in the 4-cost slot that are 10 or more power?
How many cards?
There are 5 cards, Tucker, in 4-cost. Tucker, do you know how many cards there are in the 5-cost area that have 10 or more power?
Is it 2?
It's 2.
And that's Arrow and Red Skull? But technically, Black Panther gets to 10 power when he goes on reveal.
I'm saying base. I said base, you commenter. Shut up. Shut up. Because guess what? I didn't count Ares in the 4-cost group. So
yeah.
Anyway,
yeah. So that we're gonna have. I'm telling you guys right now.
I'm so annoyed.
We're gonna have a Series 5 discussion next week. We're gonna have a tier list for Series 5, bringing the tier list back, and then we're gonna have a soapbox kind of speech for Dance for series for 5-cost cards overall.
Thaddeus Ross is going to be Thaddeus Ross, I think, has the potential to be a very good card in the deck that he's in. I don't know how busted, how good, I don't know where he's going to stand. Yeah. But I'm excited for this card nonetheless.
Yeah, it's like something new. Like we like having stuff that's like newer. So like it'll be good. It's definitely going to be more niche, more narrow. But I think it's got value, of course.
Yeah.
If people are still playing
definitely.
Wiccan, you're just never going to get this to work, right? Because Wiccan always happens. No.
Because Wiccan wasn't nerfed in the final. We'll talk about that. Anyway, the Spotlight Cache, though, for his week, like you said, Blink and Nebula. For one, I like the variant. I think there's cool stuff here. And for 2, honestly, is this the best week and Thaddeus is the worst card in this week? For like the Spotlight Caches, I think?
Yes. I would say, well, at the moment, yes. Prior to any potential OTA or patch changes.
Yes. Everything, in case, if anything is subject to change and we can be, and Second Dinner could say that we are just wrong based off of whatever they want to OTA or patch or whatever. I'm
looking at next week, and if like somehow they finally rework or change Loki, next week becomes the best week of the month.
I'd be surprised if they reworked Loki.
But I'm just saying, if they did.
Well, then let's talk about the week that's got Loki in the Spotlight Caches. Not even talking about, obviously, the highlight card. I'll let you do that in a second. Because we also have Baron Zemo, which, by the way, one of a very sick Baron Zemo variant.
Yep, I love it.
Is this the first time Baron Zemo's been back in Spotlight Caches as well?
I think it is wait, no, it might be the first time Baron Zemo's been in spotlights because they had just the.
He had a bundle. He had a bundle. That was it.
Let's see.
Yeah, I'm looking at it as well.
Okay.
He was in the spotlight cache or the season pass, and then this is his first spotlight cache. So we're getting 2 season pass cards that with Blink and Baron Zemo.
We have 4 season pass cards.
Hold up, how many other? You checking as well? Okay,
Nebula
Phoenix Force and Nimrod.
Loki.
And the following
6,
weeks
so
as
we
well.
have 6 season pass cards going into spotlights this month. All right.
Fair enough. That's cool. I think that what is it? Yeah, if Loki gets changed, it's really good. Mill is also in a lot of places, and I don't believe you can properly play Mill without Baron Zemo. So if Baron Zemo's a card, or if you really want to play Mill, you've been seeing that deck, and you're like, thank God, I finally have a chance to do it. Baron Zemo's your week for it, 100%. And because I actually think Red Wing is going to be really interesting, and that's the card I'm excited to deck build with. But what does Red Wing, this 3-cost, 3-power card, do?
Red Wing text is the first time this moves. So the first time it moves, adds a card from your hand to the old location.
This is there is potential in this card.
Mm-hmm.
This is one that the great deck builders, the butts, but the what is it? The people who are really smart, the Cam Best, what is it? I'm just gonna name Toxic Soul King, Crime Afoot. It's people who are really smart and they're really high up in the ladder and they figure out these combos. Who else? Husky. Thank you. I was trying Husky as well. There's so many awesome people up in the top ladder, but this is the card I think that's going to have the most potential to be busted, I think, this month.
Yeah, if you can deck build around it, and like, there's definitely going to be a lot of highlight clips for Red Wing. But I do agree. I think if you can deck build around this properly, I think you could do some Dracula dump shenanigans potentially with this. Madam Web is already a good card that people are using a lot of. You could do Ghost Spider things. You could do just Iron Fist, Copium Trains, Kate Bishop stuff. Like,
what do you mean?
Cloak. Like, there's a bunch of different ways you can play with this card, which will be interesting. There's going to be some highs. There's going to be some lows. But I feel like this does have a really solid just combo potential for this card for sure. Yeah,
I think, and one of the, again, notable part about Red Wing is that Red Wing can't move on its own. Yes. It requires one of these other cards that Tucker was just mentioning to move. And so it also has to go to the old location, which isn't at the new, which is interesting. Technically, if you play a Iron Fist, because I'm going to keep talking about this guy, if you play Iron Fist on turn 2, Tucker, and then I play Red Wing to my rightmost lane that I haven't played a single card to yet, it moves away immediately, and then my Galactus is played. I'm just saying. Listen, I know I'm on the Cope train already with the Iron Fist, apparently, since you apparently have a vendetta against Iron Fist. I don't know if he's been really annoying you in Rivals or what have you, but but legitimately, we have not had a card in Marvel Snap yet just pull a random card out of your hand. The best thing that we've had as of yet is old Doc Ock or Ox Lab that your opponent has to play to.
Like, that was a toxic.
It was the worst. Yeah. Like, and then we have Jubilee who pulls a random card out of it. Like, there's nothing that pulls a card just straight out of your hand.
Yeah.
And that is really cool to me. And I'm excited about Red Wing. I'm excited to see what happens with this card.
And like, what's really cool about this card too is like, I feel like to some of these other cards, it's like, it's a 3-cost. That's not a bad late draw. You have to have the enablers, of course, too, but like, it doesn't feel as bad as a late draw. If you're like, well, I have this still in my hand, I need this to happen. I need this. I need to move my Red Wing off this location to maybe dodge something else, and then like my Shang-Chi comes down and wins me the game. Like, there's so many different like cool combos you're gonna see, like, for just clips with this card overall, which is really fun.
Yeah. No, I'm really excited for this card. I think it's gonna be. I think there's a lot of potential, a lot of promise for Red Wing. Let's not spoil what our favorite card is for this month anymore, because I don't know if it's yours. Anyway, Diamondback is the last one.
Which has another solid, maybe not solid spotlight, but a good spotlight week if you're missing these cards per se. Nimrod still does get a lot of value in like Shuri, Nimrod, Destroy kind of stuff. Phoenix Force is still in a good spot too. Of course, just take some brain power to go through with it and everything too. Both these are Series 4, so just keep that in mind as well. The variants are absolutely amazing. This is, of course, now the new best Nimrod variant in the game. But Diamondback is the brand new Series 5 card that is coming out with this Spotlight Week, which is February 25th, through March 4th. And Diamondback is a 3/3 ongoing. Enemy cards here afflicted with negative power have an additional -2 power.
This is a really good card.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a good card. And if Luke Cage doesn't change, it's even better.
Moonstone value, immediately there. LaFay value. Like, there's so many different ways you can play with this, even if you don't get the U.S. agent or even a man thing. You just hazmat into Diamondback, and that's -3 power on all those cards in that lane. There's going to be really cool ways to mess around with this too. Mystique can also copy this card. It's going to be very interesting to see, how this works overall. But like Dance says, this week and every week, Luke Cage is still very prominent, and you just got to keep that in mind.
Yeah. I've harped on Luke enough. There's so many things stuck I'm trying to avoid. But also, I'll say there are really good location with this as well, where I think Negative Zone is something as Affliction as Negative Zone.
Yep.
But then you have something as minor as Sewer System. Also does a lot. Jotunheim. Yep. There are these locations that do a lot of big things to your cards. Just that little bit of Affliction can matter a whole lot, and it's gonna make. I think that this is really going to be a fun card, and I think one of the best places for it. Again, obviously, I think you're going to want Luke Cage, but I think Legion.
Yeah.
Because Legion, Luke Cage is already a great combo to be able to play on a Sewer System, a Negative Zone. And then if you can put, if you play her to a location that isn't a Negative Zone, but you see a Negative Zone on the board, you Legion that location final turn, she makes all the cards there even worse against your opponent. So there's a lot of potential for this card. I'm actually most excited for this with the locations, not even so much just the Ajax build, which obviously is going to be pretty good. But yeah, so this is going to be a really fun card as well. There's a lot of, honestly, this season has a lot of really sick cards that I'm personally stoked about.
Yeah, I think if I'm being fully transparent here, before the announcement of the other 3 cards that were going to be added in the game mode, this kind of did feel like a semi-good season or a mid-season. But yeah, there were a lot of cards I really wasn't high on, which now I'm okay on some of them, whereas these newer cards, I think with the new game mode, I think I like more than even. I don't know. I feel like some of these cards just feel more niche than flexible, and I want to have flexible Series 4 and Series 5 cards, to make it reasonable for the price tag that they have. But looking at this right here, Dance.
This isn't a variant, right? This is just art that Peach. I always say the name wrong. I'm being told Peach. I think it's Momoko. I don't know. Peach Momoko made for Sam Wilson as Captain America, just I think for a comic book cover. Tucker, I'm not actually a fan of the variant art that we're getting as this season stuff.
Gosh, they're not good for the most part. The first week, the second week, I think Ross is okay. Red Wing and Diamondback actually look pretty decent.
I think Red Wing is the only one I really like. Yes, actually,
that's the best one, hands down.
Can I tell you why I don't like them? This is, again, we have so many things we're going to be talking about. Sorry. They all look washed out.
Yes, they do.
And it reminds me of Max Grek, but just washed out. Right? I know each artist is going to do their own individual styles, and and art is subjective and what have you. But especially in Snap, I like for the art to pop unless it's inked, pretty much. And honestly, I don't run inked as much anymore because I really like the popping of the colors, because guess what? I'm a visual guy. This is so cool.
Yeah, the contrast from
And
left
then-
to right too, like, is really interesting.
Yeah, and it also looks like the wings of the Falcon stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh my gosh, yeah, this is. I really don't like what we currently have.
This would have been an amazing season pass variant.
Yeah, I love the art for this in particular. It's not just because of this art, but actually I think because we rank each of the cards that are coming out in the month. We typically rank them all. This is not the reason why Sam Wilson is my favorite card of this month. But he is.
Okay.
And I'm really stoked about this card. I know Red Wing I mentioned, but like I love the way this guy looks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm again not just talking about this piece of art here. I just think there's so much versatility and usefulness that you're gonna get out of him. Honestly, he could be still broken, still busted, but I'm loving what I'm seeing out of it. Who's your favorite then? Is it Sam? What you got?
So, it's really tough because like I'm not in love with any of the cards this season. Like there's no card I'm like definitively I am super pumped for this one card. But maybe I don't know. I might go LaFay as my number one card for the season, even though like we've talked about, like Luke Cage still is incredibly popular, and he does take away from that. But I might go with LaFay as my number one.
No, and I think that's entirely fair because one thing that's always said is, it doesn't matter if card is good because counter card exists. That's not truthful. The card can still be good.
Mm-hmm.
So even if I'm gonna crap on Lauf, whatever, I don't believe that means that it's a bad card.
Yeah,
I think it's actually gonna be a very good card. It's gonna do a lot of insane stuff, and it's not even because of that. But I will say, he's up there for me. He's in my top 3, but he is slot number 3. Not to jump around a bit, but he's right underneath Red Wing. Okay. I think it's Sam, Red Wing, and then Laufey, LaFay, whatever. Like I think that's my order here because whether or not the card is really insane, Laufey. I already talked about why I really like Red Wing earlier. I'm not going to bother continuing on that. But Laufey, I do agree, is going to do a lot of really cool stuff and is a big powerhouse. Mm-hmm. And it's actually kind of interesting because if you do want to run Luke Cage, you kind of have to play it on turn 3.
Yeah.
If you have Laufey, because you want your cards to get stolen from, and then for Luke Cage to be able, like, you want that specific thing to happen. So it's going to be interesting to mess with, kind of cool. I think Laufey's going to be really fun as well. But I mean, who else do you have in your top though for this month?
It probably goes LaFay, Diamondback, and then Gorgon.
So Sam isn't even in your top 3.
Not in my top 3.
Okay, wow. So Laufey, LaFay, whatever, Diamondback, and then Gorgon. Yeah, Gorgon's another really fun one too. Who's your number 4 then? Because that's I like these thus far.
Number 4 probably would be Red Wing.
Red Wing is your number 4. Okay. Yeah, Red Wing is fun. I think my number 4 is actually taken by Thaddeus.
Okay.
Which I've accidentally called. I'm gonna say it because I'm gonna keep messing myself with it, but honestly, I'm kind of calling him Daddy Ross. I'm just, I say what comes in my head, Tucker, and when I say the word Thaddeus like 30 times, I just hear myself saying Daddy Ross.
Daddy Ross.
Dude, I love Han Solo, okay? What can I say? Indiana Jones is, so I'm here for it.
Yeah.
But okay, so anyway, I've got Daddy Ross as my number 4, and then my number 5 is actually Gorgon. But what's your number 5 then?
Sam Wilson.
That's where Sam is going. Okay. What's your 6 then? Because actually, what's your 8? I'm gonna skip forward. What's your 8? Do we have the same 8?
Uncle Ben's 8.
Cool. All right, I wrote that down for both of us as number 8. Yeah. Okay. So then we both have our 6 and 7s, which I actually haven't mentioned Diamondback yet. You haven't mentioned Ross, and then the only other card is Joaquin. So where are we fitting with? Where are those fitting for you? Ross and Joaquin.
Ross then Joaquin.
Ross, Joaquin. That's really. I'm surprised that Sam is so low for you, but That's interesting. I
Not
don't
like
know
I'm not
whether or not
ranking them as like I think they're bad cards other than 7 and 8. This is just like to me what I'm
like what
most
you're
looking
excited
forward
about.
to. Yes.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay, that tracks.
Like I think Sam's
No.
gonna be a good card. Like don't get me wrong, I do think that'll be a good card.
Well, we'll talk about whether or not we, aka I, was right or wrong about last season's cards, but yeah, no, because I think Diamondback is there for me as my number 6. Again, it's just a good card, but I've spoken about how I feel about Luke Cage. It's kind of, and so it just feels like it's so reliant there, so into that I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it as much. Then I'm going number 7 is Joaquin as well, because Joaquin is, we'll see. I've got that, but okay, that's our ranking, at least for ourselves, of the top 8 top 8. There's only 8 cards this month of
Only
the cards
8.
this month of the top 8 this month. You know what? Yeah. Anyway, it was, and then last month, by the way, we had I believe 5 cards. Only 5 cards come out last month. And last month we just made different. We talked about it earlier. We tried to build the deck that we thought these cards would go into.
Yes.
In a month in the future, however they were going to go. And this, again, it's our ranking personally. Whether or not we still agree with them is a different conversation. But Tucker, just as a recap on this, we can talk about the decks here in a second in the order that they came out. Your number 1 was Bullseye, followed by Ares, Victoria Hand, Iron Patriot, and Moonstone.
Okay.
Do you still agree with that order that you had given?
I think I would probably go Iron Patriot, Victoria Hand, and then Bullseye Ares. But still
That's
Moonstone in last. So I would definitely do some swapping around. But for the most part, I was in ballpark range for some of these.
Yeah, I think you're pretty close for a lot of them then. Definitely. I overestimated how much I like Ares. Ares was the most recent card that came out, so we haven't really done a review on him. We can see how he's done. But I'm gonna be honest, Tuck, I've enjoyed him the least.
I mean, he's just been bored. He's like a boring card, you know?
And I don't know why I did this, Tucker. But apparently he was my number 1. I look back at last month dance, and I want to ask him why I did that. I don't know why I ranked Ares that high. Apparently Ares was my number 1, followed by Victoria Hand, Moonstone, Bullseye, Iron Patriot. And I honestly, if I take that exact list and I move Ares to the bottom, and that's where I'm at, because Victoria Hand's even better than I expected. Yes. Moonstone is, I also like all the rest of the cards. I had such lower expectations for them, and they surpassed it. So it was really cool. And I don't know. I'm happy with where they ended up.
All right. So also keeping that in mind, you guys, this is the overall win rate and average cube rate / popularity for the last 30 days post Infinite for all of these cards, and all of these stats, of course, are from users using Untapped. This does not accumulate the total number of users in the entire game who've played these cards. You do have to have the Untapped engine in order to get these stats to accumulate. And with that in mind, if we look just on win rate here, Ares is the number 1 card with the 51.7% win rate, with an average cubes of -0.01, which is the highest average cubes, even though all of these average cubes are in the negative here.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And it has the lowest popularity of all 5 of these cards as well.
Well, I think that's also because, so I think both of those stats are actually because this card has been out for like a week.
Yes.
And that's it.
And if I switch it to a week, just like to agree with Dance's point as well, Ares' play rate is second highest.
Yeah, his win rate's still still best there. So could be entirely wrong there, but it does go into that metric either way. Just as a counterpoint against this, no matter what though,
yes.
the card is still good.
Yes.
The card is still,
it's just boring as hell.
very it's just a boring card. Do you want to work backwards then? What do you want to do with the decks then? Because when we built these decks, we tried to guess where these cards would end up.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want? How do you want to look at that?
Well, looking at these decks, since we're talking about Ares first, like Dan said, we will work backwards. What we built for Ares was War of the Idiots, is what Dan's built, which was a Surtur Scar deck for Ares itself. And then I did some Forced Surrender, which is a mill Ares list. And if we look at what is the most popular Ares deck, by the way, if I click on Ares here, as it loads.
Decks.
Oh,
no, you did it.
These right here are the most popular decks for Ares, and the highest win rate decks for Ares are going to be Surtur lists. So Dance hit it pretty much right on the money. They aren't the exact same that like we kind of had built before, but if you look at the last 7 days, with over 3,200 games played of this Surtur kind of shenanigans, they have a 58.6 or 7% win rate, which is really solid post Infinite.
Yeah.
And then
That's
the mill
really
list is not as great. Same with the Ares. I think this might be Ika's deck, potentially top left, the Darkhawk stuff.
It is the most popular, which is actually interesting. Neither one of us talked about Darkhawk, which is actually a really cool way for you to look at this as well. I know it had been mentioned by others because when we appeared, I believe, on the Snapcast, guests talked about Ares in Darkhawk.
Yes. And I did make one for Buy or Bust. But.
And of course, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to diss your Buy or Bust. My apologies. But it legitimately, so I also think that was a different way that you could be looking at these as well.
Yeah.
It's cool to see that Ares is actually like being used in some of these places.
Mm-hmm.
He's an interesting card.
Yeah, he does.
Not really. I can't even give him that.
Big power, go burr, kind of. That's just all it is.
He's just a big, powerful card, and this was talked about on I think the Snapchat. You know, Drax exists.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the next card, if we're working backwards, Tucker, was actually Bullseye.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we had done for this one is that we didn't build decks separately because neither one of us really thought there was a lot of options here, which I think we were incorrect in the end. Because I had a blast with one of the ideas of the decks, but let's talk about the one that we had done here.
Yeah, so we had done just kind of like a collector discard with Helicarrier as like a just rough draft. We were like, it's probably going to be something like this when it comes to Bullseye. And when we look at how Bullseye turned out, and you look at the decks that comes with Bullseye, we were wrong in the sense with the collector Helicarrier stuff, and then we didn't even think about Dokken or Frigga.
Dokken was the biggest mistake I think we made.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we had taken a second and realized Dokken, whatever, was a piece that also worked with Bullseye, I think our game plan would have changed entirely, and we maybe would have had different decks even. But I think missing Dokken is the biggest miss that we had done with Bullseye. But otherwise, I mean, collector stuff, combo in general, still did good.
Yeah, I think we had that kind of just hit on the noggin there. And, like, there is, of course, differences in a lot of these decks, but, like, it's still, for the most part, the same discard shell. And Bullseye, by the way, this is the last 7 days. We'll go back to 30 days for Bullseye, even though it's been 2 weeks. He has a 49.2% win rate, 9.4% popularity, and an average cubes of minus 0.11. And then continuing to work back, we do have Moonstone over here, which Moonstone ended the season with a 46.2% win rate, a 9.6% popularity, and a minus 0.31 cubes.
That's interesting. I didn't actually expect her to do the worst out of these cards. I guess now that, like, if you look at all these cards, they were all pretty good. And I guess it makes sense that she was the worst one. But even, like, worst for her, it's still really, honestly decent, I think.
Well, if we look at the last 7 days, she goes to a 44.7% win rate and a minus 0.42%. But I think what it is, like, a lot of people are just kind of like overcommitting to some of this ongoing stuff, opposed to just like only having a couple pieces to kind of get the Moonstone value. And like looking at our decks too, like your deck we have, but like we weren't able to fully test the way we wanted to test it because we didn't have, you know, Captain America out just yet, which I think like, or Captain America Sam Wilson out just yet.
Yeah.
But I think this.
I think
definitely
even
will
if
be
I
good.
hadn't, even if I hadn't done the like the Sam Wilson in this deck, I think I still missed because I didn't. I focused so much more on the ongoing than you needed to, and that was something that I don't think we really had it, because especially after the first week of the season had passed, the slot of just putting Iron Patriot and Victoria Hand into a lot of decks, because that's what people are doing, just those two cards, and that's good enough. We had it. I hadn't thought about that. I don't remember what you had, but that wasn't there either. Because we were thinking of this stuff here.
I didn't even play this.
I think we both, at the end of it, I think we both missed on Moonstone.
Yeah.
Because, again, working backwards, we didn't see the potential of Victoria Hand.
Yes. No. Victoria Hand, her stats don't necessarily. I think her stats are the way she is because she's been in so many different decks, which we'll look at here in a second as well. But like the main homes for like Moonstone are Wiccan Victoria Hand, and then some. I don't even know what this atrocity is over here. This is literally this new card, booster farming. It looks like, oh my gosh,
it looks like booster farming. Yeah,
both of these are
just
booster farming, just shenanigans.
Yeah,
here. Holy.
But I think that the Wiccan stuff with Victoria Hand being able to generate those extra 1-cost cards, like Maria Hill is a really good card. Kate Bishop's Arrows, Iron Patriots card, obviously Agent Coulson. That was one of the better places, I think, that you really saw a lot of value from Victoria Hand. I think that's really where the card popped off the most.
Yes.
What were her actual stats, though?
Her actual stats were the horrible. Oh,
yeah, because it was every spread. Victoria Hands, yeah, because Victoria Hand again was just. Yeah.
This is last 7 days too. 47.4% win rate, negative 0.27 cubes, 9% popularity.
I'm kind of shocked about that, Tucker. I'm not gonna lie to you. What were her the best Victoria Hand decks though?
Well, what we built was a Wiccan list.
Oh yeah,
that's what you first went to, and as you can see, that's definitely one of her main homes. I built a bounce list, which definitely was not one of her main homes. But looking at her decks,
I will say the biggest thing I'd said about her was that this is Devil Dino's moment, and I was wrong. Wow, it's so crazy. A 5-cost card, wasn't it? Anyway, but yeah, Wiccan felt like a really great place. It was just, you got that value because it gave you a good card you could play on turn 2, and you needed, and those other card generators also let you fill out those early turns. So you had a really solid line there. I think that that's one I'm willing to take on, because I feel like the Wiccan stuff there was good, even if Devil Dino still is sucky. It's just Victoria Hand was still incredibly good.
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right there. And then we now have the Season Pass card, which Iron Patriot kind of held value throughout the entire season, became a flex card. It made a deck you were talking about the very beginning of the season actually incredibly viable up until now as well.
Yeah, that was one that I thought that was a Hail Mary. I didn't expect that to work, Tucker. I'm not going to lie to you. But yeah, so Iron Patriot kind of worked in Mill, we saw.
Yep.
We actually saw Iron Patriot doing some interesting stuff in Mills. We'll look at those decks in a second. And apologies, by the way, audio listeners. We're not telling you all the cards in these decks. But Iron Patriot in Mill actually kind of just worked because you had enough power with those other cards in order that you could potentially win those lanes solo. And I think, what was exactly did I have for the deck? How close is that to the actual Mill list we had at the end?
So you have Magic, Negasonic, Spider-Ham, Doc Ock, and Red Hulk in your shell with Shadow King. I made a Noki list, which honestly could have just been a Wiccan list, and probably instead of Noki. And that probably would have been better for Iron Patriot. But like the main list we have here for Iron Patriot, which by the way, 51.1% win rate, plus 0.01 cubes on average with 35.7%
Just barely positive cube rate.
popularity. But the mill list that is the most popular is going to be the Destroy mill list with Killmonger, the Hood, Misery kind of shenanigans. So you had the same kind of general idea. If you just swapped out a couple cards, you pretty much have it right on the noggin, and like
It's
6,000
yeah.
cubes.
When that, because that deck was actually starting to get popularity at the end of the previous season.
Yep.
And I was like, there's no way that this Destroy shell is actually the best place for it. I didn't believe it. I was incorrect there, obviously, but it was another interesting idea, I think, on that front. But yeah, this was a... It's just because Iron Patriot's a good card, bro. It's just, it's... The fact that you can slot Iron Patriot into decks just on his own is really, really good.
Yeah.
It's... Yeah. I think the card's very good. I said before, I think this is... I think that's a prediction. If I got any right, I think that's when I got the most.
Yes.
I think I said Iron Patriot would just be a good card you can slot into a lot of decks.
Yes.
And that's why I wasn't excited about it. I'm still not excited about it, but honestly, Ares is more boring than it. So that's where I am with that. Sorry, I think my camera keeps freezing, but I think for the most part, I think we got very specific aspects of the cards correct. But we missed some of the larger generalities of it that are honestly probably fair and to be expected when we don't know these cards.
Yeah, no, I think what we had as like the shell for a lot of these decks really paid dividends to like what happened overall. And it's very interesting to see like these cards have like 50% or less win rate which makes sense. Like some of these other cards in the meta kind of are better and because they haven't just been touched, you know, like Wiccan and stuff like that.
But, you know, some cards got touched. Some cards were brought up that I was a little upset about, Tucker. I was a little upset that some of these cards were brought up and not others.
Yeah, if we go back here, you guys, and we look at what happened in the OTA this week, it was interesting. Some of these cards were very warranted, and I was like, okay, Aranya, I get it. I think Aranya definitely needed the tweak that she got. I think she's still viable, but this is a pretty big hit, especially if you look at like Human Torch value. You know, you're not getting that extra, like you're not going to 8, you're going to 6 now, which is really huge overall in the way that that deck can kind of just high roll and just continue to just profit in that sense. So I thought this one was great. You called this one.
Yeah, that was one that I was almost I didn't know if I wanted to say. But it did have. It's, you know what I was also really upset about this, Tucker? We had so many really cool ideas for the OTA submitted by people.
Yep.
Well, we had this, and we had it just it felt like a nothing burger of an OTA for a lot of it. Like obviously, move bounce was brought down as they said that move bounce. They're fine with best decks existing in the top of Infinite because they don't want to just nerf every single deck that becomes competitive because then that sucks. But because that metagame also is slightly different than what we're seeing in every other place of ladder, but as it started to basically infect and spread other areas, when it actually became a problem for just general player base, they're like, okay, now we need to hit this, which is a fair point. They hit both Aranya and Dagger. I think Dagger was a really fair one. People had said this before, and I argued against Dagger going to a 2/2 that gets +2 for each, because I was like, well, we already had basically this before, and it didn't work. And I think the best point of logic that was said is, yeah, but we didn't have Madam Web and or Aranya at that point.
Exactly.
The move enablers we had were so limited. And that was that was one of the biggest reasons why this change was made. And so I think that's fair. I think these changes to the move bounce list in general were fine.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it was warranted. I can't say that I was expecting this change to happen.
We're doing 3/6s now.
Yeah, I was like, huh?
to be fair, they're doing a 3.6 the same week that they released a 4.12. So
yeah, like I don't know. This I was like, okay, and it does make Luna Snow better, but like you'll see the stats here in a second.
I still don't think Luna Snow's good, but
Yeah,
it sure, we got a lot of buffs this OTA to cards that I don't know if they should have. I guess I'm fine with them. I don't know.
I kind of
felt
called
such a
this one
nothing
though.
burger. This was Miss Marvel going to a 4.5 from a 4.4. Felt all but needed and deserved. I think the fact that the meta has entirely changed. 4 costs are now apparently 4.12s. Like this needed at least a little bit of love, and it's still probably not good. But this was, I think, this was a deserved change, I think.
Yeah. They want to sell the card for this next week at Spotlights, so they made her a 5.7.
They said it. You don't even need a tinfoil hat for this. They've said that they will buff cards if there's opportunity for people to get them soon. They've said that. Yeah, Nomura got buffed. It's and I think I know what happened to Nomura, and I think it's Clog.
Yeah.
I think Clog happened to Nomura, and she never came back.
And now Clog is back again.
Yeah. I don't think Nomura's still good. It's such a narrow place. It's the same reason that Namor and Orca exist. They're just not.
No.
Yeah. But let's say this one.
Sandman went from a 5.7 to a 5.8. They gave him 1 extra point of power, and he still has the same on reveal. Next turn, your cards cost 1 more.
Cool. Man, I love it when they buff this card. No, why? Stop. I don't want more Sandman in the meta. This is not the card that Second Dinner needs to be buffing.
No, it was just
You're
like,
telling me that they want us to play less cards in the meta? And rescues existed for how long? This one hurt me, Tucker. And it's just because this is not. I don't get why this was the priority here, as well as the next card. I don't get why these were the priorities.
And then Leader went from a 6.3 to a 6.4, which we kind of were like, Leader needed an extra point or two of power, to be fair. We did talk about that, but
it's not gonna matter.
Yeah.
Because we're in such a combo heavy meta game. Like, to be fair, this is actually a decent card against like the Scar list.
Yeah.
But also Clog exists, and that just counter and any deck that's playing more than 1 card on the final turn just also doesn't really care about this card. So in general, this OTA, especially again, how much we talked, like all the cool ideas that we had received and talked about and gotten.
They weren't listening to us. I cannot believe they did not listen to the pod.
It's really a shame. I don't know. Obviously, they're not. I don't know. It's just, I didn't mean to build up my hopes, and I shouldn't have, and I did. And I can't. But I just came out on the other end of this OTA being like, oh yeah, Spectrum got a buff too. Sure. And this is you know what? This is the one that I think I dislike. Actually, she's getting better next season with Captain America's
and Joaquin and Diamondback.
Like I said, she's getting better next season with Captain America's. And I don't know why this is what they needed.
And Gorkin.
And like I said, she's coming out next season. We have Captain America's. And I don't know why this is like, honestly, I think she's going to be fine at a 6. She would have been fine at 6.6. This is the one that I'm like, really? I don't know. Sure. For what it's worth as well, Tucker. Because Glenn responded to people being like, okay, so Top Infinite was, so good, but Wiccan and Red Guardian are like so common and have higher win rates, again, according to public stats. And then these move cards getting nerfed. Why are we not seeing these getting changed? He even said, what is it? Like, they have worse win rates than the cards targeted, even though that they are apparently better cards. I don't get that personally. I don't.
This kind of felt like an OTA just to do an OTA.
I want more risks. I want a big risk of an OTA I want it that, and obviously our stats different than second dinner stats because they have all the information possible and we don't.
Right.
But I want them to go into these cards that haven't been touched in forever and give them some real love. I want to see Rhino get buffed. I want to see like I've mentioned, Rescue like 19 times. Wolfsbane, White Queen, Warpath, Namor, Medusa, like all these cards that are really cool early on, and then they just don't matter.
Yeah.
I want to see some really awesome stuff happen here because I personally, Tucker, I don't get why Warpath has to be a 4/10 with a more difficult restriction than any of the other base 4/10s that we have in the game. And why White Queen has to be as bad as she is. Why I don't get the why not
can't
buff these
Spider-Ham
cards?
just be reverted back to original Spider-Ham?
Is Spider-Ham bad? I don't know. Is he bad now?
Well, Spider-Man's leftmost, but Spider-Ham originally was hit the highest cost card in your opponent's hand.
Sure. I don't know. I don't have anything on that one. There are all these cards that I think that are just so much worse, and I don't know when they're planning on changing Colossus, or if they're ever planning on changing Colossus. I don't know if we're gonna be seeing a world where Jessica Jones isn't garbage, but we have a base 4/6 that goes to a 4/12, and Jessica is a base 4/5 that goes to 4/10, and you have such a difficult. I don't know. It's OTA. This section is the OTA reaction.
Yep.
And my reaction is, I don't know how long you're gonna. It feels like Second Dinners just keeps like ignoring that the really big pile of crap that your dog made, and instead sweeping up the crumbs from dinner.
Yeah.
That crap's been there for a while. I don't know when. Namor's been bad for forever. I don't get why these cards have to be bad for so long. I know it's the early player experience, but like, there has to be a different answer here. I don't know. It just my reaction was just sadness at this. Honestly, it just didn't feel good.
Yeah, we're very hopeful, as always, that the patch next week and the OTA next week are gonna be.
Is it OTA next week?
Should be an OTA next week because we don't have one.
Oh my gosh, there is. Yeah. I don't think the patch is going to have any. I'd be surprised if the patch had balance changes. I don't think they're doing that, and I don't want to push that, especially if we're getting. What is it? I think we're going to be getting this new game mode and such inside the patch.
And character.
And actually, I'd be surprised if we have any card changes in this patch.
Well, I'm just saying next week. I'm excited. I want maybe some visual effects or something. With
sure.
All other stuff.
I want to make it very clear to anyone listening. Like, I don't. Yes, patches are where they will do big changes to cards. They try to typically avoid those so the cards stay true to themselves. But at the same time, the only thing they can do in patches in terms that's different from OTAs is adding or changing visual effects. Which, speaking of, by the way, Madam Web's VFX were turned off, and I don't think she's crashing the game anymore.
Oh, good.
So, I don't know. On a bright note, Madam Web isn't crashing the game.
Yeah, that's great because that was so annoying.
It was so annoying. She crashed the game so hard that TikTok broke. Speaking of TikTok, if you guys aren't following Tucker on TikTok, because it isn't banned anymore, neither is Marvel Snap, you can see him post some really great content over there. Probably not Marvel Snap content, but you're seeing him going to get some sick games in Rivals. He's also streaming those games of Rivals on his Twitch, twitch.tv/Tucker, TUCCRR. He's on all those places. He's on Twitter as well. I'm going to get him on Blue Sky soon. And not to mention the actual platform you're watching him on right now, YouTube, youtube.com/@Tucker. Subscribe. You're here already. Why not hit that subscribe button? Drop a like for my gorgeous man. Yo, his hair gets more gorgeous every single day. And I have to keep bringing it. I have to keep trying to push it higher and higher up. And it doesn't work because of how luscious his locks look. Ooh, that was like a cool alliteration right there. Anyway, Tucker's awesome. Make sure you're following him on every single platform you can because he deserves all the love.
Goodness gracious. I will be streaming Snap on Tuesdays going forward. We'll be streaming it today as well, streaming till infinite. All new card releases. as well as Thursdays. Every launch of the OTA, I will be streaming. The first half of stream will be Marvel Snap with OTA cards, and then every Friday, the first hour of Friday night stream will be part of the Snap stream team. So I will continue to be doing Snap content as well. But before watching any more Snap content from me, you need to be stopping what you're doing, and you need to be following Not My Dance on all of his social platforms, which will be down in the description below. That includes his YouTube, his Twitter, his Twitch. We'll get him on TikTok eventually as well, but you need to follow him on all of those platforms. Mans makes absolutely amazing content, high energy, high yapping every single time. You will not be disappointed. You will be continually entertained. But we do want to say thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know down below, what is your guys' ranking for cards this next season? I know there's 8, so this might be a steep task for you guys, but we believe in you. And we're looking forward to seeing those.
You know what? No, I don't believe that the viewers of this can type 8 different names of cards in the comments and then rank them in an order of which they enjoy. No, you're asking too tall of an order from them. I'd be surprised if we even see one person rank the top 8 cards this season.
Prove Dance wrong and comment down below. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. We really appreciate it. Until the next time, it's been fun. Live long, have a good week, hit infinite quickly. We love you guys.
Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper. Spock over here. But yeah, we got a shorter season this month, but it's gonna be a good month. Very excited to see what the future holds. A lot of content, and yeah, Senreal and laters.